Please stand for the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. On your agenda in front of you, you'll see three departments that we have not had formal presentations for the department heads or the fire chief is not around. So we start with airport budget, fire department budget, waterfront budget, and then we'll return to the planning and comprehensive plan budget. There is some money there, as Kim knows, and the question is, with the consensus of the board and the committee agree that we proceed with the full-time planner. Then you've got a summary budget comparison, which is a long sheet, color sheet, and you've also got departmental revenues year to date. And after that, I suggest that the next meeting would be next Thursday because there's a lot of fixing to do, and we need some direction from the board and the committee as to what you want on the agenda for the next meeting. My suggestion would be, it's only a suggestion, would be that if there are certain departments that you want to look at in more detail, we start with those and put the department heads in, divide all the numbers, and then with any luck we might be able to get some of these things locked down, recommendations made. Anyway, that's what I'm suggesting. Obviously, anybody has anything else they want to add?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So I don't have to do all the math. The total down at the bottom of this one, 4.2, does that include the yellow lines or not?
No, yellow lines are not.
Yes, it's all included in that, but just note that those things.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So I guess airport's up front, Rick, if you would. And the airport budget is printed out, just this department printed out for you. Go ahead, Rick.
Good evening. There's not a whole lot of changes here to the airport expense budget. There's a portion for increases in pay for the staff, and the only big one to be noted is the maintenance for the airport door. A slight increase, about $1,000 for heating oil, and advertising about $200. Manager, I boosted that one up to 22, but John's told me that I couldn't probably do 22.
As you know, what happens when there's a higher percentage increase than everybody else, regardless of what the starting point is, it causes a lot of heartbreak. So split the difference.
I understand, but if I could give a opposing point of view, and the airport monies come from airport earnings, and our earnings this year in the fuel portion there is about $29,000. That's for 2019-2020 fiscal year. It will be. And then as far as the expense or the revenue, I think it's looking pretty good. But anyway, that money can't go out of the airport. And considering the things that have to be done and that I'm working on at the airport with the solar project, with the FAA issues that are out there, that I don't think you'd be wasting any money by giving me a raise that's significant. And when you look at Brunswick, for 20 hours a week, their manager gets $70,000. I'm getting 23,000, and I'm asking for 27. So, thank you for hearing that. And are there any questions?
Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question about the overall bottom line. I have it in my head, and it could totally be wrong, but I recall that there is a difference that between the revenue and the expenses at the airport of around $30,000 or so, at least last year, that we funded from taxpayer. Is that right? I'd like to see where our revenues are, if we have them yet, but
So they're here, no, some green.
They are down like what, 20-some thousand at this point, 21,000. But this is also about the peak time. You're gonna have your summertime coming in. Once I think April comes along, that's when we start getting more revenue and more planes coming in and getting fuel.
right,
And
well, I'm
that
not
will
looking at the year-to-date, I was just looking at the projected, so if the,
It looks like it's
Like
about
last year.
25,000, yeah, the
yeah.
difference.
I just wanted to make, because at our last select board meeting, someone said, well, the airport's paid for, but we do contribute, taxpayers contribute to this.
Yeah,
That's,
Yes, we do.
25,000.
okay, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't have, I get ideas.
Where is the airport, where is the town putting money into it?
The difference between the revenue.
The expenses and the revenue.
Last year it would have been 32,000.
That's, I thought it was around
Yes.
30,000.
You made it up in fuel.
No, I'm saying
No.
if you made your projected revenue that's listed,
No, it was 58.2. And the actual budget was,
90,769.
no, I went,
No? I'm reading it out of the annual report.
you talked about the 19 actual was 83,327.
Oh, okay. I'm
So it's
sorry.
25,000, the difference between the revenue.
I just want to make sure that's clear, because I think it's been said in
Because
the
it used to-
recent select
it
board
used to be-
meeting, oh, it's
It
covered
used to be
by,
self-sustaining.
and it is not entirely.
Correct.
I'm looking at 2020.
It's a 2019.
Yeah, but we're going by 2019, right?
The actual budget. I went by the revenue, the actual revenue of 19.
Oh, okay,
And
I
the
was just
actual
looking
budget
at,
of
I'm
19.
sorry, I was looking at
Are you looking at the
projected.
other account, the 927 account?
It's just, the airport revenue is all in one,
No, it's not.
okay?
It's a lot of it is in that account that Bernice set up for the fuel sales to break it out from the regular. If you go back to 2018 or 2019, the budget was over 200,000. We're talking about a $90,000 budget here. It's totally different. It's not.
Kathy, you got
Yeah,
clarification?
last year Bernice, a couple years ago, Bernice took the fuel, he used the budget for the fuel in his operation budget. But Bernice pulled that out because it's a special revenue, they buy the fuel out of it, and, that's how they pay for the fuel is out of that account. So it's a revolving account type of thing. It has nothing to do with your operational budget.
That's correct.
Yes.
But it does have to do with, that is earmarked for the airport.
For fuel. For fuel.
No, it doesn't matter. Anything that is made on the airport is supposed to stay at the airport. And I think an investment in your staff is worth every penny. Because if you have an accident at that airport, somebody gets killed or whatever, you're gonna want good people working on it, not minimum wage people.
Sherry?
I just wanted to understand, is the revenue that we have here for 2019 for the airport says 58,219. Does that include the fuel sales?
No fuel, no.
Okay,
No.
fuel is not.
That's a hangar leases.
And how much is that? 29, you said?
I think it's 29, yeah.
Yeah, I can go see if I can pull that number out for you.
And then Kathy, does the fuel, the profit that they make on fuel, that goes back into the
my understanding was that fuel was set up that way because the cost of fuel changes and the price goes up and down, that it was a way of keeping it out of the operational account, just having that money set there for the cost of fuel.
So we're making money on it?
Yeah, she just said 29,000, and that would make it a positive account.
And it goes back into the,
Airport.
I don't know, I was just going by,
Just go back into the airport, it would stay at the airport.
So I'm confused. So it's the 29,000, that includes the revenue plus less the expense of the fuel? So that's the net?
if what I'm hearing, the revenue line that we have isn't the revenue on the fuel.
Right.
So it would be the 58 plus the 29. which is the
But that's a
revenue.
good point.
But is there an expense to the
yeah, is
29?
that net or is that?
Is the
It's
fuel
a net,
expense?
is what
The
Kathy said.
29,000 is that profit?
Yes.
It is.
Yes,
Okay, so you,
The
that
extra is
profit, you
included.
said some of it aside, and some you use for the airport expenses.
Yeah, that money
Or
was.
you use all the 29 for airport expenses?
I don't know where it goes. I don't see it.
What she did is the
I don't
business profit they
understand.
made from
Me
it.
neither.
But it just-
Isn't that, I think it worked out that when a bill came in for the fuel,
Fuel, we pay
it
out
was
that.
paid for out of that account, am I not mistaken?
Correct.
Yes, but the
Yes.
question
But if
is,
there's- but if there's
is
revenue
profit
to-
on the fuel, and what are we doing with that money?
It's,
Yeah, where is
it's
that?
in the revenue number,
It's in the revenue number.
correct? It's in the
It's in
revenue number.
which revenue?
28,000 something was put into the revenue for the airport.
So this
Wait, what?
58,000 is a combined revenue.
Yes.
So that's included?
So the fuel revenue is in this revenue number?
Yes.
So it's not what you think?
No.
No.
Yes, Kim.
Okay.
I got you, before you break your arm.
I saved this from last year's budget workshop, and it clearly shows fuel sales of 20-something thousand and a total of revenues in the 50-some thousand. So this was from last year's budget workshop, and it's definitely included.
And that's when we transferred everything was last year.
And there's your bottom line.
Things were straightened around in that account.
Well, that isn't what the final budget was that I recall.
But
I'm
it's
okay, I'm not
included
arguing
in
it's rates, I just want to understand.
Me too.
It's
Well,
not
not that it's
self-sustaining
not, no.
Because-
number. We have to quit saying that it's self-sustaining, because it's not.
No, it's not.
Talking about 40,000 this year.
Okay. Is there any other questions about the airport budget? Seeing none, then let us thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Continue to the fire department budget. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Do you have an old one or a new one?
With about 3 months under my belt, things seem to be coming together. We have some positive changes over next door. We've done renovations and the new floors look great, new paint. Working on ceiling tiles. We have some new applications. So things are definitely looking up on that aspect. Some things that we may have to look forward to in the future is vehicle maintenance, things like that that will be addressed in the capital improvement. As far as this year's budget, it's pretty much unchanged. A little bit more increase in the wages due to minimum wage increases. Kind of up the wages to $14 an hour. And then our officials' wages went up for officers' stipends. We really don't have a lot of increases. We did cut a little bit here and there. Phone and internet. Under supplies and equipment, every year you have to replace tools and hose adapters, and nozzles and things that get broken and worn and stuff like that. General equipment, speedy dry, Gasoline and diesel has gone down a little bit. We haven't used as much in the last few years. So we took a little bit out of there. General supplies, same thing. There's little places we can cut here and there. Under repairs and equipment, there's some things, air pack flow tests, air bottles, inspections, stuff like that is mandatory every year. Vehicles, flip a coin with older vehicles, comes more maintenance costs. Right now, we have, our newest truck is 12 years old. Our oldest truck is, the ladder truck is 31 years old. In general, a major piece of fire apparatus will last 20, 25 years. And we've been fortunate that we've been able to get more than that out of the equipment that we have. And it's due to Ted and his crew maintaining them, and buying quality equipment when we buy it. So vehicle maintenance hasn't really been terrible this year, but all it takes is one bad year and that budget
Question.
gets shot. Yes.
We were told earlier that the ladder truck is not useful as a ladder.
Currently, it is not in service, no. Our plan for that is to have a full underwriter's laboratory inspection, bumper to bumper, top to bottom of it, to give us an exact list of everything that's wrong with it, and then we can look at, is it worth repairing it, refurbishing it, or not. It's kind of a fluid situation right now until we get that report and the inspection done. But it's something that we want to be fiscally responsible about, rather than just throw money at it and try to fix the problem. If there's an alternate way to take care of that and still maintain the apparatus that we have, then we'll do that too.
One more question. We're also told that the extra equipment you've got for the men to wear and all, that we're storing it up in the attic, and it's not a good thing.
Spare gear, it really shouldn't. It should be in a more environmentally controlled environment, rather
The
than
question is, are we
in the
doing
attic.
anything about that?
Currently, no. There's really no room anywhere in the building to store it that's more adequate. It shouldn't be in the extremes, in the extreme heat and extreme cold, but in the attic, it's not a perfect environment, but it's not the worst.
Thank you.
Yes.
So we had a question on the vehicle maintenance on line 60.404 of vehicles. We're showing 16K for, I'm assuming, repairs and service. But when you go down and look at vehicles number 4, 5, and 6, you don't have anything projected for those for repairs for radio, but you had actuals for 19 and so far for 20. Are we not going to be budgeting anything for those? Because it looks like the past 2 years we did have actuals.
I think what happens is the lines 42, 45, and 46, each vehicle has its own line, and when maintenance is done to that vehicle, it's charged to that line, and everything from each vehicle is added to 6004. And then it comes out of 6004, I believe, is how it's. So that's all the.
That's what you told me.
Right, that.
Yes, Judy.
So Rob, is the equipment that our firefighters wear to go to a fire, is it cleaned like it's supposed to be, and are you real comfortable with, because we kind of got the impression that there might be some equipment that's not quite as ready for fires
As far as turnout gear,
yeah.
the turnout gear we have, we actually just went through our annual inspection. All the gear that we have is serviceable and usable. There are new standards out now that you wash your gear more often, generally after every structure fire, because of the carcinogens, they're finding more and more that there's more cancer-causing agents. So the newer trend is to wash the gear more often, which actually takes a little bit of the life out of it, but that's what it's there for. So we do wash it and maintain it and clean it and make sure everything is safe. Yes, so yes, to answer your question.
Any other questions for Ron? I'm just curious on the increases. Do you have a rough idea of what percentage that is? The increase of hourly wage for stipends?
I actually did most of that for you, Rob.
Okay.
It was more rounding up than the actual percentage.
Okay.
As Rob alluded to, this push to the minimum wage of $12, had to put pressure on a lot of our wages, part-time, and which are low to begin
Just
with.
explains where you're getting your numbers.
Right.
That's fine.
And,
Yes, Judy?
and everyone gets paid now for training.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions from the fire chief? Well, I guess you're all done then. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Dennis.
Next item is a waterfront budget is a work in progress, because at the last selectmen's meeting, which was a mere 2 days ago, there was discussion about additional revenues, additional expenditures, and the waterfront budget and policies and such like is on the agenda for next meeting, which is next Tuesday. So I would think that once that is over and the board has made a recommendation, we'd be able to update those numbers for the next joint meeting, which will be next Thursday. So what I'm really saying is defer this to the next Thursday, if that's.
Judy, can I ask a difficult question to be answered?
Why not?
What about the bathrooms?
This one,
They're not in the budget. They're
And
not in the budget.
no thought of
I haven't thought about it.
I thought about it.
I mean, too.
Well, I thought about it, I haven't reached any conclusion.
So, do you think we might have a discussion about it before finalizing the budget?
I will say, I think it might be a possibility. I think what we have to do is go through each one of these departments and look at the final numbers and see where we are at and where we're gonna cut or what we're not gonna cut. Because definitely, I think some of these are gonna get cut. Because it's a very high percentage at this point that we're looking at raising taxes. That's just my opinion. I don't know what the other board members feel.
Well, I mean, I think we're a good month away from making the final decisions.
Right.
It's a lot of information to come in yet.
Definitely. Yes, Kim?
Backing up, I missed raising my hand. Which is the correct total for fire? Is the sheet itself says 148,000 and.
Should have got a new one, didn't you? A new fire department.
No, I got this.
I think we're at 146,503.
Here, it was updated today.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thought I had it, no. Do we need to order with it?
Here's an extra, you need an extra one?
So everybody has the updated fire department.
Kim, did you get the airport one update?
Okay, so because we have not really, we've got that discussions going on about the waterfront budget, the board is in agreement to postpone that until Thursday after the meeting on Tuesday. Okay. So the next one is planning and comprehensive. No?
There is money in the budget for planning work, 28,700. There was also money in the budget for a comprehensive plan to the tune of $20,000. At the selectmen's, actually at the last meeting, it was I believe it was agreed that the $20,000 comprehensive plan would be carried forward to next year. The discussion was a little unclear on whether the group wished to have a full-time plan. There was a lot of sentiment for that, for putting a full-time person on includes whatever the salary is, plus significant benefits, which generally run 30 to 40% of the salary part. So it's no small amount. No idea what kind of, certainly we've had some pretty good planners, but the position wasn't funded, and if the board and the budget committee together wish to approach the voters for a full-time planner on, that will have an impact on the budget. So if you wish, we can put some sort of number in and just see how the total looks, and then go back through everything when the time comes to establish priorities, because we can't do everything. So.
Am I correct that we can carry over the 28.7 from last year?
Yes, we can do that.
And then 28.7 for this year?
What do you mean, an additional?
You would have to.
Yeah.
Combined, that wouldn't cover it anyway. So, and then going forward,
And we
you
can
would
get the
carry
TIF
over.
money.
Yeah,
But out of that 18,000 comes from the TIF fund.
yeah, understood.
Yeah.
That's a long way from total compensation,
Yes, I
at professional level.
Takes some of the edge off of it.
Some of the, that's what
I'm just gonna throw something out there, just out of curiosity. I know we're talking full-time, 40 hours. What is the consensus of feeling that maybe it can be done in 32 hours, where we don't have to pay benefits at that point? Yes, sir.
I think you wouldn't attract qualified planners or something like that. I think a qualified, good planner wants to get paid the going rate on what planners do, and it'd be a full-time job. So that's what I'll be concerned about.
All right, that's what I'm saying, just putting it out there, getting some feeling of what everybody thinks.
Follow up on that, if you had one, you'd certainly be spending half of his time answering one edge.
What is the board's feeling?
I would like to see what it looks like with a full-time planner.
The
And,
figures?
yep. And then we can, we have a lot of decisions to make in areas, we'll look at it later, but right now, we don't have something to look at, it would be good to see it.
Because the ultimate decision is up to the voters, and
Correct.
what they want to do anyway. I mean, we can put it out there to them and
Yeah.
see what they want. How does, Jeff, Ben?
I'm willing to put it in now to see what the final picture is going to be.
Yeah.
We're at 4.2% now, got an idea it's gonna go higher.
It's probably gonna go higher.
When did the town vote the planning budget out?
I don't believe you were on the board at that point.
So it was just last year?
A year
No, it's been-
ago,
it's been-
right after you left.
Right after you left. And then they,
And it was voted on in November.
yes, and we ended up having an open town meeting, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody put in a petition to take the money that was approved for the planner and put that towards lowering the taxes, and that passed, so we did not get a planner.
And a lot of people thought that we still had a planner, they didn't realize taking the money away, we wouldn't have a planner. I heard that all over.
So I think that is part of the problem with, that the taxpayers don't understand, that when you vote down a department, whether it be police, fire, planning, or whatever it is, it stops. I mean, there is no money to fund that after the end of June. And I think the people did not understand that at that time. But again, we can put it into the budget and see what the numbers look like and take it from there. But ultimately, it's the voters' choice. It's their decision. Sherry?
I just was gonna say, I think that even the way I understood it was that voting to put that money towards the offset the tax base was for that year, because we didn't have a planner and that money was left over. I didn't understand that it wasn't going to, that next year we wouldn't have a town planner.
Well, yes, because originally, they voted against the planner.
But then they voted in.
Then we had
town
another
meeting
vote, and they voted, I'm trying to think of
to
how
bring
it
it
went.
back.
They brought it back, so that it was approved for the planner.
Yeah.
Then we had a petition that came in,
Yeah.
wanting to take that money and instead of hiring a planner, put that towards the taxes. And at an open town meeting, it won. So we have not had, we've tried several times to get the money in for a planner. And so we just don't have, the money's not there for one.
Okay, but we did agree last year that that's where that 28 came from. We were
That's
gonna
right.
hire one, it didn't happen.
Right, we were gonna utilize Lincoln County, and that hasn't come to pass. And I don't think that, under the circumstances, we've tried it for a year, that we're not gonna get the, attention from Lincoln County Planning that we want as a town. If you want a planner to be able to, look forward and bring revenue into this town, you're gonna need probably a full-time planner that's gonna wanna put his all to it. And especially helping the boards and committees. You know, they need some guidance, and people coming in here wanting to open up a business need guidance. And we just don't have it here at the town hall. Yes, sir.
Do we have a job description of this planner?
I believe there is one.
There must be one. We never, well, I won't say we never throw anything away. We might mislay it, but there will be one
We have
somewhere.
There is one, yeah.
You
There
never
is
know.
one. Yeah, we do have one.
Kathy said we do.
We do. Would you like it?
Sure. I get the impression from Lincoln County that they're not really interested this year in doing it again.
Well, they didn't do it.
Oh, I know they didn't do it,
Well, they had the person and then.
but I asked
the person
if, you know, if we didn't do it, could we do it again? And I didn't get a yes or no, but my feeling was that they're not interested.
Well, I got the impression they weren't interested from the get-go, because we haven't had anybody come in and say, hey, can I help you, you know, whatever. Is there something I can do? So I think it's pretty well written that they don't want to have to deal with it. But I agree, I think we need to put it into the budget and see where we stand and take it from there.
Well, I hate to contradict Mr. Maloney, because he's almost always right.
Yeah.
But I've actually had some communications with Mary Ellen, and she is working on some things
Yeah.
like bees.
Not the impression I got talking to her.
I just judge by what I see.
Probably your charm.
Probably, yeah, good point, good point.
I doubt it.
Thank you, Judy.
Don't say that out loud.
Oh, no, that's okay.
There'll be no chipping in for the pizza tonight.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
okay, next item we've got is the summary budget comparison. Kathy, who just came back, has been frantically stuffing numbers into the spreadsheet here. And I guess first and foremost, people will drop down to the bottom right, which shows a 4.2% increase. And you notice the yellow lines are the lines that are not raised through taxation.
You said that those are included in that 4.2.
They are in the bottom total, yeah, yep.
Is there any way we can get a figure without them
Yeah,
there?
go with that.
I'm just curious,
Thank you.
because I think that's,
Yep.
to me, that's the number we need to be looking at, because those are not involved in taxpayer dollars. Yes, Kim?
Is there a portion of the wastewater that is included?
No. No, that is all done by user fees.
Okay, so am I confusing that with something else, that last year we had that 30% increase?
That was
And then there
the
was a-
sewer, that was the sewer rate.
But that, yes, but then there was a remainder that fell to the tax burden.
For the maintenance
Because-
facility?
No, I don't believe so.
Well, last year, I realize I could be remembering something completely different and inserting wastewater in there, but my recollection was there was something that we hadn't raised rates in something like 8 years.
Right.
And we had a meeting, and if we had raised the rates, 56% it would have come even again, so it all would have been taken care of by user fees. But everyone felt that that was too much, so we only raised the rates 30%, and the remainder that had to be made, that difference that had to be made up, went to the taxpayers.
Not that I'm aware of, I don't think,
I
we've never.
remember what she
I
said.
remember there's a discussion, but I don't, the 30% increase was for, if I remember correctly, things that needed to be done, so we had to increase. We did not go back and take money.
It was
from
one of the
them.
fees on our water bill. It was either the water or it was the sewer.
I don't believe so.
No, I'm sure it was one of those two.
We have nothing to do with the water rate.
No.
Then it had to have been the sewer.
Well, the water rate went up 3 years ago, 35%.
Okay, but this was last year.
Or 2 years ago, and then last year, the sewer rate did go up 30%.
30%.
But I don't know if she's talking about that difference between the 56% and the 30%.
Because you still have to meet
And
the
we
budget.
said,
But we deferred that. We deferred that extra percentage, if I'm not mistaken. I
We
think
didn't
that's
make
what we did. We deferred
It
it.
would take an article like passed by the townspeople to take any money.
Right.
It's an enterprise account, it's supposed to be
We did not,
self-supporting.
we went with the 30% and deferred the other percent, between the 30 and the 50, the 27%, that we were going to do at another time, another year down the road, or 2 years down the road.
I
And
think-
we did not do it this year, we did not increase the
I think
rates.
John just gave me the answer, that it's an enterprise account.
That's correct.
So it didn't fall to the
No,
taxpayers.
we cannot go back to the
Okay.
taxpayers.
Okay,
for
I
that.
knew I remembered something.
Yeah, we're sponsored on the grants, we've got a lot of capital work that is required by the consent decree. Spent a lot of quality time talking to DEP about that, but it's supposed to be self-supporting on the operating side. And we've got a huge net collection network, if you will, and not enough users. We,
Right.
you know, got 25% capacity, and as we get new businesses or individuals signing on, then that revenue will pick up. And we are, just so you know, we're not putting an increase through this year on the rates. However, that's just the spirit of goodwill or whatever.
John.
Yeah. What's that?
John.
Again, thank you.
Under the wastewater, why are those figures the same for 2 years in a row? Are we proposing the same budget?
It actually comes up pretty quickly, pretty much the same. I'd have to look at it again. We've run through so many versions of this. And there were some different treatments with the whole depreciation thing.
I have that the total wastewater is 717,023. That's what I have right now.
Read that again?
717023.
That's what I have.
That's the most recent.
Because we did some rearranging of figures on that. We took money out, put money in.
Went the other way.
Yeah, we're into the depreciation, with the
It just
wastewater.
said it down. What happened?
Some of those.
There's less budgets to spread it out, so. I guess that's it.
So at this point in time, with the way this budget looks, it's a 4.5% increase. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, well, that's what the numbers say.
That's what the numbers say.
You took out the yellow when it went up.
Yep.
How can it go up?
It can't go, because cemeteries is higher this year than last year.
But
Retiree
there's
health
less
insurance.
budgets to divide it all up into, so it's
Cemetery
theoretically
gets
it could
paid
go
out
up.
of the cemetery endowment fund for one who've got a permit.
Right.
So that is no impact. The retiree health insurance comes out of the retiree health insurance account, so that doesn't get there. Wastewater,
So this becomes the highest.
it's no charge to the town anyway. And what was my last one, capital improvements? That will have to come from someplace like borrowing or reserves or something. but so it's not in there at this point. That'd be fair, Kathy? Not this one.
I'm sorry, I was looking at this sheet.
Do you have any comments?
Oh,
We know where we are.
And then the last handout was the landscape one. Revenue comparisons, we're showing the 2019 actual, 2020 projected, and the current year, year to date. So that's from July 1st of last year to pretty much today. And you can see what's been collected as part of the total budget. Recreation shows a 56%, excise 69%. A lot of new cars being registered. Notice that state revenue reimbursements, you know, they just come whenever the state pays us, and it's not something that comes in monthly. It's more like quarterly and a half year. The other fees, miscellaneous, including, as you can see, cable franchise, interest in any Yankee impact fee, bank interest, permits, application fees. We've received 151,000 out of the 181,000 we were expecting, so that's an 83% performance, if you will. EMS, they're at 77% mark. Transfer station is at 57%. Various charges for service at the 71% mark. Wastewater, 52%. Senior center, 79%. Airport, 47%, 48%. Waterfront shows a 16%. Some of that is timing based on the summer season, so on and so forth. And so if you look at the total, we've collected approximately 66%, and that's where we are in the total calendar year, which is 66.6%.
But we don't, I'm sorry, we don't have a column that says what they projected for 2019.
No, we do not have a 19 projected. We could easily do that next time.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see what they projected and what they've got so far.
Okay, FY 19.
wait for last year?
I mean, when we did our budget last year, each department, like rec, made a prediction of what they projected, what their revenue would be for 2019. We have the actual that they have. I'd like to see what they projected.
We can run
Compare.
We can run another column.
Yeah, I'd like to, just to compare the difference.
I just didn't have those numbers yet.
That's fine, that's fine. I think it would be interesting, yes, Judy?
Does the back line there, cable franchise, that goes into the general account?
Yes.
And that's where the Providence went.
So that's what, which one?
The Providence, money from the Providence.
Yeah, that's just revenue.
But why
It's not
can't
designated.
that be put into the waterfront account?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, waterfront made that happen.
Well, it's getting money from
Right,
the waterfront.
right.
Which
Well, it
is
can be
what-
easily transferred to the waterfront account. I don't see why not.
It should.
Yes. Yes, Kim?
Is the emergency medical services, the year-to-date, is that collected? I know there's always an issue because of insurance and what people pay. Is that the collected amount or the anticipated?
How much is it?
Oh, I'm sorry, year-to-date, where am I?
221,000.
That doesn't include all of the bad debt write-off that we're still sitting on, which right now is about 55,000.
And is that running about what you normally see as uncollected?
Yeah, last year we wrote off 106,000 in July, so we're pretty much right on what we.
Okay, so when you make a projection, do you factor that in, or are you projecting,
I do. My budget projection is cash in hand.
is cash in hand? Okay.
Yes, Sharon.
On the revenue with the miscellaneous, with it going down, is that from Maine Yankee? Is that because we're getting less money from Maine Yankee?
I would assume it's from it, yes.
It goes down.
Yeah. So one question I have, and I don't know where we keep our money as far as, and how much money is normally in our account, but, I'm the treasurer of another big board that has a couple $1 million in their account at all times, and the AE recently went to the bank and negotiated a higher interest rate because they want to keep our money. I don't know if we have a lot of money in our account all the time.
I don't believe we have that.
We don't, so that probably is.
We have the investment.
Right, that's
investment
different, but we don't
No.
have, we don't, okay.
No, if you look at the monthly reports from the department heads, you will see on the treasurer's report, she explains how much money we have in our bank account at that time.
So, okay.
And it's not anywhere near that kind of money.
Okay.
When was the last time you had to negotiate the cable franchise agreement? And do you know how much? I can't remember.
I don't.
I've been here 6 years, it hasn't happened.
It hasn't.
No. I know we got a letter from Spectrum a while ago, didn't we? I don't know if it was just us or it was just everybody that was getting their rates increased. I can't remember.
I don't remember that, I just remember whenever I open those letters, I tell him which channels have been dropped or changed. No talk about money, but I'll double check
Check on
the
that,
contract.
yeah. And we will be negotiating with Maine Yankee
Yes,
again
yep.
on their impact fee. That's in the process, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's just about to start. We've been putting money aside for legal fees, which are substantial, but so's the dollar that we get back. May I call on you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do we have the same legal team working on it? And are we in cahoots with other towns that are in a similar situation?
I don't believe we do have the same legal team, but I don't believe there's any other towns involved. I think it's just Wiscasset.
Yeah.
I don't know why any other town would be involved because we are the ones that it affects us, not Woolwich or.
Well, no, I meant other towns that have a nuclear plant that's been put to bed. And remember, something came before you, it was a
The
legislature.
congressional delegation is certainly
Yeah.
working with
Yes.
other communities throughout the country.
Yeah. We had some communications with some people in the Midwest. I forget which state it was, and they had a closed nuclear plant, as did some other people. And there is an effort to get some funding. It doesn't seem like an awful lot, but I've been in contact with Senator Collins' office and Senator King's office, and I get updates every now and then. We think it's made it through appropriations. We think, and nobody's asked what our bank account number is yet, so can always hope.
So no help yet.
No,
No, but there's stuff going on in the background. Okay, what about that next? My suggestion, as I think I mentioned, was that the next meeting would be next Thursday, because we're still tidying up some of the numbers and displaying the spreadsheets and such like. And if the selectmen and the committee wish to indicate what departments or items they'd like to have discussed at the next meeting, I'm more than open to suggestions. Otherwise, I'll make a guess based on the conversations and so on as to which ones we should start off with. So
I'm curious, when are we going to see the capital?
next meeting, or
Next meeting?
we
We
can
gave
do
out one list early on.
Yeah,
You should have,
We need a discussion on the capital.
yeah, you should have a list in your books.
Yeah, okay, we have not had a
Oh,
discussion
I'm sorry.
regarding the capital.
okay, I'll put that up.
We can put added since then.
I'm sure there's been things added since then,
Yeah.
sure.
We can give that to the board on Tuesday, actually. It's not,
Okay,
and then obviously to the budget committee next Thursday.
okay. Because that's a discussion that we're gonna need to have as far as the capital.
Okay.
Judy, I know it's the right pocket and left pocket, and I see the police chief here. Is there a reason why the school doesn't pay the, I know it's our taxes, but it's just,
If I remember correctly,
and chief, I don't mean to put you on the spot, I just.
No, I didn't hear the question.
It's the SRO, it looks like the whole budget comes out of the town's
Yeah.
budget. Is that something that you like? Or, I guess I'm
I don't-
wondering why the school doesn't pay you.
Wiscasset is the first place I've worked where the school hasn't paid for the SRO, but from what I was told, is because the board didn't want the school paying for it. But I don't know why it's in two separate things. If it's gonna come out of our budget, I would like to have it in my budget.
It wouldn't affect you if that were to go to the, I don't know.
I think back when we did the SRO, the communication between the school and the town was the fact that if it was in the school budget, they would have control of the officer.
Well, that's why I was asking the chief.
We would not.
Would it affect your operations?
Well, currently, I use the SRO. If I need backup, I call them out of the school. I mean, I use them as I want to anyway. The school hasn't tried to take control of it.
Right, but is that because he's in our budget? Do you know what that, like I said, I don't want to bite my nose off to spite your face if it's gonna affect your department.
I don't know that the school would fund it. I don't know.
Back when, I think it was Troy, that was our chief of police at that time, brought this forth. The thinking was the fact that when we were talking to the school did not want the officer in a uniform at that point in time. They wanted him in plain clothes. And Troy brought it before the board. He did not.
Judy, I remember all this, and I remember, I don't mean to interrupt you, that when we voted for it, we was gonna give it 1 or 2 years, and then the school would take it, and now it's been several years, so I just, and like I said, I know the taxpayers of Wiscasset pay for it, but, you know, if it's a school line.
If we're gonna do anything, I'd like to keep it in our budget, but maybe ask the school to reimburse.
That, like I said, I think that's something that should be talked about as far as the budget process goes. It's not a lot of money, but it would help our bottom line.
Yeah. I think
I
we
know-
should reimburse.
I know, I mean, the only one I'm familiar with is Waldeboro. And in Waldeboro, the school reimburses 70%, and the town pays 30%.
Like I said, it's just, I don't know if it was discussed last year. Do you know?
I think we've had this discussion every year regarding this.
Okay.
And, you know, we can reach out to the superintendent of schools, and because they are doing their budget now too, and maybe suggest that we have a percentage that they put it, I don't know if they'll agree to it.
I mean, every time I talk to them, they're always, I don't think they're gonna wanna pay that 70%.
The SRO is not usually there. Not like, I don't know where. he
He's
is,
in the
but-
academy right now.
Yeah, we haven't had a police officer full-time since the one left and went to Millinocket. What was his name?
Worcester.
Yeah, Worcester was the last one. Then the guy after Corey was there for a while, but it's not for that long. We haven't had a full-time resource officer for a while, quite a while. So I don't know.
Well, you
I
have
can't-
him, you may not have seen him. I mean, he goes there every
I see
day.
his car sometimes, but
Right,
not all the time.
Right, and because of staffing issues, I pull him out of the school a lot.
Well, it's a concern whether who wants the control of the SRO? I mean, that's at that point. Do you want the town to have the control?
I think the town should have the control.
I agree with Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a, you know, that's not what
Then that's
schools are
fine. No,
for.
I just was looking at the budget,
Trying
you know what I mean? It would be, it would be
It
a
would be a
chunk of
nice
money.
thing to, it would be a nice thing to do, but I don't think that, I think the town needs to keep, I hate to say it, that control over the officer.
Okay.
And have him report to the chief, not to the superintendent of schools, or take direction from the superintendent.
And once we are fully staffed, he will be in the school more.
You know,
Just
about
putting it
the
out
same
there.
time anyway.
Fine.
my thought.
Do you want to have John question whether they should consider it?
I don't want to affect our police department, so I would guess John and the police chief can talk, and if it doesn't, I'd like to get reimbursed, or ask, but I don't, like I said, I don't know how it would affect your department. Like, would they say to you then, no, you can't, and I don't.
I think right now the school is frustrated with the SRO because the lack of, I should say.
Sure.
Just because of our staffing issues. So I don't know that right now would be a good time.
No, I get it.
To do that.
Yep, thank you.
Once he's out of the academy and he's got a presence there and, then that would be the time to maybe see if they would. But right now, I think because of the lack of presence of the SRO, I think it'd be a negative. They would look at that negatively.
Do we have the SRO, does he go to the basketball games, or do we have any?
I mean, I've been to one basketball game. We just don't have the staff. I mean,
Don't have the staff, okay.
I know Sergeant Hatch, when he's working and there's a game going, he stops by. We did have a schedule there, but it's hard. I mean, one guy on the road and the number of calls we get, it's hard.
So,
Sorry.
I would say when the school reaches out to us and want a presence, that we make that happen.
Okay. Thank you.
so, yes, ma'am.
The 4.5% on here, the increase,
Yeah.
do revenues not factor in before we actually see a bottom line? Projected revenues?
We don't, we separate.
Okay.
Hard to control the revenues.
But we do use it
Oh, yeah.
when we get to the final number.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're nowhere near a final number, right?
No, we're
Well,
not.
I know, but we haven't even seen projected revenues at all.
Well, just that he's,
Like at the half of the mark.
oh, you're right, I know what you mean.
Those aren't departments' projected
Oh, yeah, no,
revenues,
you're
though.
right, you're right.
This 2020 projected is not.
That's
a
from
viable
last
number.
year.
That's not, yeah, we need 2020.
Yeah, we haven't even seen 2021 revenues for any department.
We can pull out,
If we have them, yeah. Do we have them all?
bits and pieces I can ask.
Okay.
Some revenues.
So are we all set with our next meeting as being Thursday at 5 o'clock? Is that all right with everyone? Okay.
Over and I'll have to work.
That's right. And we have a regular selectmen's meeting on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock.
So, obviously, we've got waterfront budget. That'll be something that's never been discussed in front of us, this group. So that'll be one, we look at capital needs, get better up-to-date projections on the revenue side. And then, Kathy, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind the board that Linda needs the final numbers by the end of March in order to send her information to the state to get the ballot done. She said April 1st was her drop dead deadline.
Okay.
So I just wanted you to keep that in mind when scheduling your budget workshops.
I think we've got enough meetings between now. We've got enough time between now and
Yeah,
then.
we've been through everything at least once.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of this.
That seems awful early.
Kathy?
Yes?
Ben was
I think that sounds awful early. Remember last year we pushed it, got another week out of her.
That's what she said.
Well, okay.
We can always try.
I'll check with her again on, and before the meeting, so she'll have the date.
We can always try.
Yeah.
Yes,
Can use charm.
yes, we can use charm.
That's not funny anymore.
That's her word for the night.
That's
Well, I mean, normally we do budgets right until the middle of April.
Yes, Judy.
So if we're meeting next Thursday, pizza can just stay there until then. 'Cause-
Sure.
Yeah, or if not, would people please take whatever you want home.
I'll take a couple slices.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it was very good.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah,
It's
thank
quite
you.
fun. It's not listening. So nobody ever appreciates it.
Judy, we thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
So we'll come back on Thursday. So, will I just pick them up? Will I just pick them up? I just pick them off with
Okay, before we adjourn, we have to give John some type of a, excuse me, Ben and Jack. But before we adjourn, we have to give John some guidance as to what we want to do on Thursday night. Do you want to look at the smaller departments? Do you want to just pick out the big departments? How do you want to do that? I mean, I know we've got big departments that we're going to have to look at. But some of them.
take the longest to.
You mean to look at cutting?
Well, just look at making
Look
a
at
decision.
generally.
I don't want to make any decisions until we see revenues. I think it's really important. And also, capital. We need to look at that because we don't really know how much, maybe our capital needs aren't that big. And then we'll have more money to put into other stuff. We don't know because we haven't been presented with it. So if we could have, I would, in my part, I would like to see revenues and capital and water funds.
It's only a few weeks to lease, but when I look at the
The capital that we saw tentatively was $1 million.
yes, well, I could
And
add.
I didn't have
But so,
everybody in
well,
there.
we need to know what the real number is. Like, what is it actually if that's not it?
What we
you
do
have
is
to
from that
amend it.
million, we pick and choose to get to 500,000.
But that wasn't even every department.
No, so it's.
Yeah, no, we need to
it's-
see everything, and maybe it's a lot and it's scary and ugly, but we still need to look at everything, and then we need to know what the figures are from our investment accounts.
I was gonna say,
It's
those
not
are,
an even 500,000, like I want to know exactly how much it is, and I want to know if we spend 3% or 4% or 2%, which is what the
Well, we
investment
usually
guy
take the
recommends.
max, which is what, the 4%. I think it is, we usually take that, but I mean, if you're talking $1 million, then that means we're gonna have to do, if that's where people want to go,
But we should
that
look.
high, then you're gonna have to go to the townspeople and ask for more money out of the Payson account.
Right, but I don't want to just talk in general, like I would like to see all the numbers and before we can start cutting anything. And I want to see the planning budget with a planner in it, and I want to see the waterfront budget, and I want to know how much the bathrooms would be, and I want to see the waterfront revenue with the big ships that they bring in. So then we can, really make, I don't want to make decisions without that information, because that's all going to impact the bottom
So
line.
that's gonna push off, looking at budgets, each department for another time. We won't be able to do that next Thursday.
Well, our capital needs, that was distributed to you with the book, 949,000 without the fire truck, skid steer and the transfer station, 30,000, building security upgrade, 31,000. And these are out there, I could come along with this. And we've got one major culvert repair that we're getting engineering studies on it. So it'll be very expensive, nothing we can touch within our regular operating budget. So I put numbers on those, and that'll,
Well, if we do what Kim would like to do on March 5th, we could hold off onto March 9th, I think is the following Monday, and go in and start looking at departments
Okay.
at that point in time. I mean, one more week isn't gonna make that much of a difference, I don't think. Yes, Judy?
Could the select board consider or have a discussion about the reserve accounts? We have a boiler reserve account, we have a roof reserve account, we have all kinds. And not to say we should drain it all out, but maybe to get us back to where we're more capable of being where we want to be, start to use some of those reserve accounts that the money was put in there for those particular reasons. So just to have the board,
Because I think we have one for Parks and Rec, don't we?
there is one.
For Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
and then
There's not a lot in
Well,
there.
that's a
big buildings reserve, there is a boiler, whatever.
Roof account, there's,
Yeah, I mean, if the town doesn't get caught up, we're going to have this dilemma every single year. And without, well, we've got positions we'd like to fill that haven't been filled or have been eliminated because of cost. And that cost is sometimes chasing overdue repairs. Every building we have needs a lot of work, this building certainly included. And yeah, we do have to get to a point where we can have a reasonable budget. I do believe those reserves are there for a purpose. How much of you use, and that's a decision for the board and voters, but we're never going to catch up. We are seeing, on the positive side, we're getting more development, but on the flip side is handling the development. For example, very simply, parking. You want this, you want that, you don't get to put the cars. Anyway, different story.
Okay, so we're gonna have the March 5th meeting, and we will schedule one for March 9th,
Okay.
also at 5 o'clock. And then we will take it from there. Any other questions, comments? Yes, Chief?
Just when you're planning for my budget, I'm gonna be gone from like the 22nd to the 27th of March.
Excellent. We'll fix that.
We'll have you on between that time. Hopefully by then we'll have this all taken care of.
Yeah, don't you worry, take care of it.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn from one of the selectmen?
No, well, you need that from this next week.
All those in favor?
Not that you're-
Okay, we are adjourned.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. Just like that.
There's two.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, one's 12 and the